Having trouble with the new time challenge or beating Lrrr? Well, don't let it eclipse your whole evening. Sorry. No, I just wanted to do an eclipse joke. Challenge 3 is out, and once again, it is kind of a progress check, and not much else. If you bought Lemon or have unlocked Dwayne, this is laughably, stupidly easy. If you don't have either yet, you kinda can't do it. But don't despair, I'm gonna get you through the next 48 hours one way or another. Let's review. The next band member joining our party is the 70s drummer, because of course it is. It looks like next week is probably going to be the bassist, and if you've managed to collect all 4 at that time, you will get the lead singer. He's probably just an animated decoration. They're nice, but if you can't get these, I want to stress, don't sweat this too much. These guys provide 0 gameplay benefit. They're neat, they're cool, I understand wanting to get them because I want them too, but don't panic if this is all seeming a little too stressful. But to get him, you'll have to first clear Lurk's Streak 2. This is pretty easy, even if you're doing kind of poorly in the event. Just having your guys shoot away at Lrrr here. Hopefully you've already done this. You'll have to, on the bottom here, clear 3 Omicronian guards. This is the same thing you've been doing since week 1. If you have free Waterfall Jr., you don't even have to worry about scheduling issues. You probably already have him doing this.
Okay, that's a start.
If you're free to play, you're gonna have to kind of juggle Bachelor Fry and Hattie between doing this task and fighting Lrrr. Prioritize sticking them on guards whenever Lrrr is on cooldown for those 6 hours between streaks. And finally, you are gonna have to clear 4 Omicronian hounds. You have to have Lemon, Dwayne, or Violet to do this. It's very easy to clear hounds. Fighting them only takes 30 minutes. So Dwayne can do this task entirely by himself in about 4 hours. Leela or Violet can one-shot the hounds once they're level 14 or higher, so individually, either of them could do this in just 2 hours. If you have all 3, you can do this whole challenge in literally an hour. Crazy. But you probably don't have all 3. You might not have any yet, nervous free-to-player. But not to worry, Dwayne is your boy here, and he can definitely pull this off all by himself if he needs to. You have most of the next 2 days, Tuesday and Wednesday, to work your way up to getting him, so even if those burger drops are being oddly stubborn, he should be able to swoop in at the last minute and clear these out for you no problem, even if it feels like you're really far behind right now. And the extra good news is, as far as progressing to the next week, it seems like you once again do not need Violet unlocked at all. Just get Dwayne and make sure you finish off his story quests, and you can head into the final chapter just fine, just like you could with Mecha Hermes last week. If you have neither Leela nor Violet, you will be at a pretty big disadvantage, but at least you'll be able to jump into the week at the same time as everybody else. So outside of the Lrrr boss streaks themselves, more on that in a moment, the biggest obstacle to getting these characters unlocked punctually seems to be the RNG of all the other non-jar things that they need that drop from all these crazy monuments we've been getting. I've seen a lot of people complaining about burgers. For me, they had a really good drop rate. But if you didn't have Leg Mutant unlocked and weren't able to check your game right at the 4-hour mark consistently, I can see struggling with this. But honestly, in the next 48 hours, you will have those if you keep at it. I suggest not panicking about that yet. The big time management conundrum is juggling Hattie. She has 3 different things she needs to be doing right now, depending on what stage you are in this. She's supposed to be attacking Lrrr, roughly every 4 hours if you can. She needs to be doing an 8-hour task for cigarette drops, potentially, and fighting guards, which takes 3 hours. And you can only have her do one of these things at a time, and you need all of them if you want both Violet and this challenge. So the issue becomes one of scheduling. You can, of course, ignore her cigarette task entirely and just pray to the great Sphinx that it drops enough cigarettes for you on its own. The drop rate is kind of terrible. It only does it every 8 hours. I've seen a lot of people struggling with this. This, for me, is actually where the Leela costume has been the most useful. With having Leela on Lrrr punching duty, I could very safely just pull Hattie off of fights entirely until she finished collecting all of Violet's cigarettes. I only got the last ones just this morning, so it does take a while. If you're free to play, you're gonna have a harder time choosing because you're gonna need Hattie's damage. Or are you? See, the streaks are very clearly designed to encourage you to keep pushing up into the higher number of streaks as best you can. Streak 1 gives 10 jars, Streak 2 gives 20, Streak 3 gives 40, and Streak 4 gives 60. If you have perfect attendance and knock them all out in a row, you get 130 jars, which is exactly as much as you need to unlock both mutants. Streak 5 is for whales to grind for bonus weed for next week. You don't need it. If you're struggling, just ignore it. It does nothing to help you, or at least the resources it would take to get you it are probably not worth what you actually get for doing it. If it's stressing you out, just don't even think about it. You're not going to touch Streak 5 this week unless you already know you're going to be able to handle Streak 5 this week. So at Streak 4, Lrrr has 360 health. In order to clear this in 24 hours, you need to be able to do at least 60 damage every round at minimum, and with that, you have to really just queue everybody up perfectly. If you want to clear him without getting up in the middle of the night at least once to reset the last round, you need to have 72 damage. That's for 5 fights to clear him out. Which means that if you only have Hattie, Bachelor Fry, and Mecha Hermes, they all have to be at least level 18, and they all have to be present for each phase of the fight. That gives you exactly enough damage to clear out Streak 4. It's doable, but if, say, you don't have Mecha Hermes yet for some reason, or simply can't check the game often enough, you might really struggle with Streak 4. I suggest you try for it. It's the most efficient way to go. But if it's really hard, don't panic. You're not screwed. Here's how you can still catch up and get everything, potentially while letting Hattie do a little cigarette grinding on the side. Just let the streak reset. On purpose. In some Tiny Code games, they even gave you a nice little button that let you manually reset the streaks anytime you wanted. We don't have one here. I liked it. It was nice when you wanted to define when your 24 hours would start on a streak based on your schedule. But for this event, a reset means you return back to Streak 1. This might seem disastrous at first, but let's check the math. You need 130 jars to unlock both characters. Streaks 1, 2, and 3 give you 10, 20, and then 40 jars for a total of 70. At this point, you've got Dwayne and a bonus 20 jars just lying around. Some people have reported a bug where they then lose 20 jars. I don't know what causes that, but it seems really rare. If it happens to you, put in a ticket, but we're going to talk about it. Now, at this point, you've cleared Streak 3. Just let your streak reset. Chill out. Relax. Have Hattie get some cigarettes, or let her and Fry kill some guards for the challenge. Just knock that out. Then, just beat Streaks 1, 2, and 3 again. This gives you another 70 jars for a total of 140. It should only take you another couple of days to do this, so you'll still have Violet rip-raring to go, ready for right when Week 4 starts. This takes longer, and it is not the most efficient path, but it is easy, and it is less stressful. It gets you the characters on time, and you never needed to do any of the harder fights that Violet would have been needed for. I suspect she's going to be essential next week, so if you're struggling, just take a breath and try this out. Also, if you did experience the lose 20 jars bug, you're still up 10 jars with this method, so you still don't have to clear Streak 4. Just let your streak reset and clear Streak 1 again. 10 jars, Violet's yours. As far as the timing on Lrrr's fights, some basic tips. If you start your final fight, the one that would bring him to 0 health or lower, you can do this even if there are less than 4 hours on the clock. based on a lot of research from the subreddit, especially some nice data gathered by TinyCo Wannabe, you can even have 0 seconds left on the clock as long as you have the character combat selection screen open before sending them off to fight. If you close it, you're done. But as long as you leave that open, you can actually put them in to go do the next and final set. This still counts as beating Lrrr. He'll go down whenever you check off the final fighter's completed task, even if it takes you significantly longer than 24 hours to get it. You can even go to sleep overnight and then check them off the next morning. Notice how currently his timer has gone away while there's fighting going on. It's definitely still counting down, so if you need another streak after this one, you can't just leave it sitting because you will lose when you come back, but your final streak, you have a really large amount of leeway on currently. Similarly, just for my peace of mind, I try to finish my streaks earlier than 6 hours before I know I'm going to go to bed. Your 24-hour countdown doesn't start until the next time you log in after that 6-hour cooldown is completed. Last night I actually finished streak 3 at around 8 p.m. I kept checking in on the game for the next 4 hours over the course of the evening, and then I just sent everybody off on long tasks and didn't check my phone at all after midnight. That lets you get a full 8 or more hours of sleep and start the next cooldown on your schedule, and I think that's super important. You want to play the game, not have the game play you. If you start having to set alarms or pull weird sleep schedules for a mobile game, you are going to grow to resent it really quickly, and rightfully so. I hope these tips helped. If some of you guys are struggling to get through these, I hope that even just the timing tricks or some of this other stuff can help you guys get through. Pick up Dwayne, pick up that drummer, pick up Violet. A lot of it's not obvious, and I think getting the hang of Lrrr's fight schedule is especially going to be important because next week is probably going to be very similar and maybe even have harder versions of this same mechanic. You need to get used to the flow, pick up Violet, and level her up as best you can. 'Cause I think we're going to need her.